Yes. I think it's
Uploading local
on.
recordings.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So sorry about the audio last week or last episode.
I think it wasn't too bad.
No.
It's just not separate tracks. I think it just extracted it from
Yeah.
the video.
And now I just remember that like 1500, I sent out my personal newsletter, and I was like, we're going to be recording live in 15 minutes. That's 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, but like people will not read it that like quickly, will they?
I know, but it was just like it's usually there, and it's usually about the next one. And I was like, instead of then linking to the one in 2 weeks, I
Yeah.
linked to this one. Anyways, let's get started. I'm first. Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each episode gives you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedicta, and I'm feeling annoyed.
And I'm Benedict. Today is September 2nd. This is episode number 228. And I'm feeling a little bit relieved.
Those are quite opposite emotions.
They are. So where do you want to
Yeah.
start? Maybe let's talk about why you are annoyed, and then we can talk about why
Why
I'm
am I?
relieved.
Lots of things now. No, mainly I promised last time, right, that I would send out these emails to reconnect with people over the audio guide ID that we were working on back in 2016. No, 2006. I figured out 2016, 2006. Oh my God, I need to check my dates. That's like a 10 years difference. That was
Yeah, that's only a slight
16, wasn't it? It must have been. And yeah, 2016. So, and it's just so hard. Like it takes so much time, but not so much time in doing it, but just like procrastinating doing it. And so I'm pretty annoyed with myself, where it's like, first I emailed, 2 people about, could you, connect me again, or do you have the email addresses, or who did you talk to in these, at one museum? And then I'm trying to speak to the people in the city that are responsible for all the sculptures and like public art that is around the city. And then I got the emails like a week ago, and I did it today, right before this recording, because I had promised I would do it. And I've been like, just pushing it in front of me, and then sitting down to write these emails is like, what do you write in these emails? So I actually got Jean-Claude to help me a little bit.
Jean-Claude.
To get me started.
Cool.
Yes.
I mean, that's progress, I guess, right? I mean, the podcast accountability model, I guess, back at work
working.
again, right? Like it's working.
It's working. So, but so I did it, and it's fun how you can, chat with Jean-Claude and be like, this is what I'm thinking about saying, and then while you're doing that, you kind of come up with the email that you wanted to
Right.
write, or like gives you a draft, and you're like, okay, that sounds a little stupid, and suddenly you're doing the thing that you were
Right.
trying to hand off, or you've been procrastinating on. And I think I mentioned that last time, that I think that that is the biggest productivity booster for me when it comes to AI, is that you start on tasks that you otherwise would procrastinate on. Because I didn't think about that until today, that I could just ask Jean-Claude to write the emails. And then I did, and then I rewrote them, and I got it done, right?
It's like that there's that trick when you can't decide between two things. You just ask someone else to make the decision, and then you don't blindly take that decision as yours. You judge your emotional reaction to it, and then you know what you would want, like what you wanted to choose. So if you like have
Exactly.
someone choose and they pick something, and then you're upset that they didn't pick the other one, then you know that you actually want the other one. So it sounds like
Yeah, I
you're
think
kind of
it's
doing that. Like let the AI write a version and then decide that's totally not what I wanted to write.
it's not what
But
I
then you
wanted to
know
write. I'm
what
gonna write.
then you know what you actually wanted to write.
And I think it's helpful because I kind of described, what I wanted with the emails, and then I got something back and it's like, well, that's not really what I wanted. Like I wanted to be more open because we haven't made this yet. So it's not a pitch. It's like,
Right.
hey, let's talk about what you're doing today kind of thing, but also not pretending that I'm not trying to make something, because that's disingenuous as well. Um and like how to describe what we're making, because it's still unclear, right? It's unclear for us, it's unclear for everyone because we're looking into the idea and we don't know exactly what we're making. So with that like ambiguity, it was fun to see like what came back. And then, as you said, my reaction to it's like, no, it's more like I want to focus on the location part more, at least now in the beginning. Yeah, but that was fun, and that led me into writing the newsletter that I hadn't been wanting to write either, which I did completely without AI. So kudos to me for actually using my brain. And that's when I found, I had to look back at social media, and I found photos from when we launched, the demo, because we had a demo of this where we didn't really have a backend that people could upload, but like I could upload, and we generated something called Oslo Stories, oslohistorier.no, that has stories from Oslo that is still live because it's a static site on Netlify. So it's been live then since 2016 without any intervention from me. But I do think Netlify just sent me an email that they will stop serving things on that Node version or something. Like, I
Okay.
don't understand, because like they don't serve it with Node. Like it's built with Node. But anyway, I got some like scary looking emails from Netlify, so I'll have a look at that. But it was fun, like actually finding the date, because I didn't really remember when we did this. And also that we got press, like we were in the local newspaper, and I found some old photos from kind of the launch party of one of the things that we are hosting. Like on this site, we're hosting a student project that the architectural students did. I think that was like, put onto our site to be live to the world, and it's still there because it's web technology and not some app that stopped working 6 years ago, which is what's happening to a lot of things that I find, because I know they used to have an audio guide, or they used, and I'm trying to find it again, and I'm finding like links to these apps that aren't really in
Yeah.
in business anymore, or SoundCloud links that are broken, or that kind of thing. So anywho, it was a trip down memory lane. So that's what I did right before coming on to this recording. And I look so young and cute.
Yeah, that's the hard part about looking at photos from back then.
But why are you relieved?
I am relieved because after 6 months of scratching my head on and off for every so often, like we had a problem with. Well, just explain what it was. We had a customer. They're a fairly large customer, and whenever they sent a newsletter to their audience, we would get a huge load spike. Well, I want to spike is probably not even the right word. A huge load plateau for the next day or so, because it took our database just like forever to evaluate all the triggers on their for their account. Basically, the way user list is built, whenever something happens, we look at all the triggers that you set up and basically check does this trigger match this event, and should we do something based on that. And like for this one customer, this process was taking so much time and effort that other customers started noticing the problem in when using the UI. Basically, some pages wouldn't load, or like just take forever, and things being slow, or just like not working at all.
Because the
And
database was overloaded. So then
the database was basically using all the CPUs to work on evaluating those triggers. And that has been going on and off for the last 6 months or so. And it wasn't like they didn't always send newsletters. They didn't always send them to everyone. So there were days when things are fine, but then there were also days where everything was just getting hammered. And at some point, I figured out that we can kind of ease the load on the database by limiting the concurrency for that particular customer. So you wouldn't like do as much as possible at the same time, but like spread it out a little bit and ease the load that way. But it was still enough load for some customers to see the effects of that. And for the longest time, I could not figure out what the problem was, because if you look at the things separately, like it's not that anything was particularly slow. Like it was still what you'd consider like fast enough for the most part. But because they are a relatively large account and they are affecting everyone, just the stuff adding up, like even if it was just like milliseconds adding up, eventually it would just blow and balloon into this thing that was just like causing load on the database for like forever. And again, like I tried to look into this a couple of times and never could really figure out what was going on until last week. I took a step back and basically built some tooling for me to better debug this, and eventually had some tooling that allowed me to run and explain on one specific, like basically like not one specific, but I built a tool that allowed me to run and explain for all the triggers in the account for one particular event, basically. And once I did that, I quickly noticed that there were some triggers that were slower than others, and that eventually led me down the path of like, yeah, that made me figure out the problem. And in hindsight, I think I posted on Blue Sky about this. Like, one trick to database optimization is to stop doing stupid stuff. That was one of those things where, like, in hindsight, it was
stuff?
In hindsight, I was doing stupid stuff, but it was only obvious when you considered how, like, should probably explain that a lot of our system is built like there's like different parts of SQL queries being generated in different parts of the application. And then when we run those things, we compile them into one big SQL query and send that off to the database. And like, if you looked at the queries in isolation, they were fine. Like there was not an obvious problem. But once you combine them with the use case of just looking at a single event, suddenly the database was doing way too much work for that particular case. And essentially, like, it boils down to, we were evaluating one event, but for that to be evaluated correctly, the database would look at all the campaign executions or the workflow executions of all the users in the entire account. And it was like just scanning, collecting user IDs from the disk all the time. Completely useless, because in the end, only one user ID was important, but it would still collect like thousands and thousands and thousands of user IDs. And once I fixed that, problem gone.
Boom.
completely disappeared. Like, they sent a big newsletter on Sunday. I removed the concurrency limit from their account before that. You cannot even tell by looking at the database that anything was happening at that point. So yeah, massive sigh of relief that I finally figured this one out. And surprisingly, in the end, it was not a thing that I had considered to be a problem in the first place. Like, I had a lot of theories what was going on. Turned out it was none of them. So
it was a simpler solution, or a simpler case?
It was for sure a simpler solution. I had been looking at complicated stuff as potential solutions for this, and in the end, the solution turned out to be, I want to say, a 5-line change, and that's mostly 5 lines to be more readable. Like, you could probably, if you really wanted to force it, do this in 1 line. And now it's super fast, like sub-milliseconds fast. So yeah, huge sigh of relief.
That's good.
The other thing that's kind of getting me relieved is that I mentioned this last time, we set a launch date for the new redesign and the new website. And we just confirmed this today. Next Tuesday, so September 9th, we are going to launch both.
Woo!
And then we're finally done with this project. Well,
I can't
we'll
wait
probably
until
keep
next time.
continuing.
Hearing how it went with the
Yeah,
full,
let's
you
see
know,
how
how
it
many
went,
angry
like
emails will you get about
how
color
many.
changes
Yeah, for
and
sure. Yes. Oh, that's a good point. I did not consider. Like, usually people don't like redesigns. But I guess we just weather the storm because ultimately the new setup is so much better than the old one, and I hope people will agree eventually. Yeah, but next Tuesday we're launching that. I think we're going to start teasing it this week. So if you're on the mailing list, you might see like a glimpse into the future of Userlist. And I think we're
Ooh.
planning to do a product hunt launch the week after, even though I'm not sure if it's even worth it at this point. Like, I feel like is product hunt even a thing anymore? I mean, it still exists, but like, does it have any relevance to anyone? I'm not sure.
I think it's like what it does is it forces you to be a little bit disciplined about, we have something new and it is now ready, and here
Yeah.
is the information about that thing that we are putting on Product Hunt. And maybe it, you know, could have been a blog post or but it's that I don't know, something about that goal of like being able to fill all of those boxes that are in the Product Hunt kind of form, that to allow you to upload your thing, makes you focused in a way that is hard to get with software because it's never done.
True.
So it's a way of saying like, oh, it's now, you know, off the assembly line and we can show off this thing that we made.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you that. So I don't think you get new customers or that much from the actual listing, or like, but you have something to talk about, and it's like a point in time. It's kind of like these launch weeks that people like some companies have, where they just say like, this is our launch week, and if you look at it, often they are launching features that have been live for 4 months.
Yeah, it's
in
just
their
like more
launch
like
week.
a public announcement type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, this is our week. Like, you know, you can bundle it up where it's like it's a
You make
point
a
in
buzz for a
time,
couple of
or
days, right?
it's a thing. It, you know, and I think that is helpful for like a marketing or PR perspective, that you can like tie it to something.
Yeah. We were on and off about like doing the product hunt thing at all, like, but ultimately we decided like doing it is still better than not doing it, even if the results are not that great. But whatever, like, if we don't do anything, then we for sure not get any signups from this, or like not get in front of people. So doing it is probably still better than not doing it. But I guess we don't have high expectations for it, other than the only thing I'm expecting is like annoying cold outreach on Product Hunt and Twitter.
Yeah. Do you want 1,000 votes? Like, I can give you 10,000 votes for $2
Yeah,
or whatever.
or
It's
like,
going right now.
I upvoted your startup. Will you please upvote my launch next week, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I also do think, like, I've seen tech journalists still follow kind of what is being, like, they have a look. So it's also like this place where people go to see like what is happening, like if they don't have anything to write about, or if they, you know, just want to see kind of what's new. And now it just got me thinking that maybe it feeds AI. Like, maybe this is these are the resources that you know, Jean-Claude and Chat are being trained on.
Right. Yeah. I was just saying the other cold email that comes a week after the Product Hunt launch is, hey, we want to feature you on our TV show. Every single time we got that same email. And at first you're like, wow, like TV show, what? Cool. And then you read into the details and they want like 10K or something like that up front to feature you in a shitty TV show that runs in the middle of the night and no one watches.
Or like, we'll put you on our top 5 email list blog posts.
Right,
article,
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
and you're like, I'm never trusting a top 5 anything ever again.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But I also had
So
like a milestone because I published my MCP server as an NPM
nice.
package with like documentation. So if you go on NPM now, it will tell you how to get um, the Outseta MCP package or server,
Hmm.
into Claude Desktop or Cursor, or I didn't include it because I haven't used it, but I guess ChatGTP has a desktop client as well, but it's like basically the same setup for all of them. And it will download it from NPM and run it locally on your machine if you have the required
Nice.
setup, that is. And it's a lot of fun. So if you have an Outseta account, you can set this up and then you can ask it to create plans for you or give you some analytics on your accounts or create email lists actually and sign people up for your email list, which you only can do if they give an explicit consent.
Obviously.
Obviously, and other tasks. And I find like I think I said that last time, but it is really nice actually. I'm surprised because I was like AI skeptic, but being able, at least for me as a developer, setting up like different demo accounts. But I'm thinking like if you are a user Outseta that do this for clients, maybe you have, because we have some people who set up Outseta for multiple clients and create sites for them. Then it's pretty nice to be able to go into the chat interface and be like, make me 3 plans, and then say something about the plans, and then it goes off and creates those plans, and you don't have to like click through everything yourself and like fill up all of that skeleton data. And we've been looking at making blueprints, but we don't really have an import thing. So this in a way kind of replaces the blueprints ID, even though it's more technical. But when we get the remote MCP server going and you can hook this up without having to like be super technical, we could have different kind of blueprint prompts. So let's say you're a course creator, we could have a prompt that's ready for you and you can change some things and it will go off and do that for you, and it's less rigid. And also it's because it's hard for us to just start your account with demo content. I believe
Right.
maybe we should have some of that, but the different the different business models require different types of setup. So I think this could be a fun way to at least give people the option to be like, oh, I'm starting a course business, okay, so I'll use this prompt and we can like the AI can fill in the
Yeah.
things most people need, like a newsletter, 3 plans, so, some
Yeah.
custom fields, and it can just like poof, poof,
Hmm. Yeah, that's pretty
so
nice.
you can offload it to Jean-Claude. That's our name for Claude. I guess you heard.
I
I
figured.
forget,
Yeah.
but we keep calling it Jean-Claude in our household.
It's more fun that way. Yeah.
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun. Yeah, so that's up there. So if anybody wants to give it a try, a look at the code. It's all on GitHub and NPM at the NPM
Nice.
registry. And my next plan then is to try to get it up on as a remote server using Cloudflare. They have some kind of tooling around setting up remote MCP servers that help out with authentication, where obviously you have to authenticate through, you have to log in through Outseta, but then they kind of create these shorter lived session tokens that are only between the MCP server and the AI client. So it kind of hides away our longer lived tokens, and it like helps you do some of that stuff. And I think there's some like analytics and logging, like it helps you out a little bit with a remote MCP server. And we use Cloudflare for a couple of things. So my plan is to try to use that to set up the remote server. I mean, you could make it in anything. You can make like a PHP or Ruby or Java, your own server.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think especially around auth, it's nice to kind of have somebody who has kind of a solution to make
Figured
it
this
even
out
more
once.
figured it one. Yes. And also you have no idea how people are. Well, you never know with APIs anyway, but like this MCP, it's such
Right.
a like novel thing that it would be,
Mhm.
Cloudflare's at least seems to know how to ward off DOS attacks and other weird things that people do with your server. So I think it can
Yeah.
be a good option to start with, however they want to do it. So, but I'm gonna have to push that off a little bit because Framer, the new, site builder, it's not even new anymore. They just got another round of lots and lots of money, and they are updating a lot. And we have a plugin
They
that
got a lot of money, and then they decided to change all the APIs again.
I don't know really if they've changed their APIs, but there's a lot of things that have changed, and I need to give our Framer plugin, another go and see
Mhm.
if we can make it even smoother, and also make sure that it's working. And there are some functionality that was lacking that has arrived. For instance, around being able to distribute custom code, which has been a
Mhm.
huge pain, because Framer, you draw React components, and then you can surround them in custom code that do things, but you couldn't, a plugin couldn't add custom code. So we would have to
Right.
ask people to go off to GitHub and like copy paste a file and then copy paste that back into Framer. And also we couldn't generate code that had the correct IDs. For instance, if you want to hide something for people on a plan, or if you want to show something to a person on a specific outside a plan, then we need that plan ID in there, and we couldn't kind of generate code. And I just saw like a monthly newsletter from Framer, or not even monthly, an update where they mentioned that custom code is now possible in a plugin. So that's super exciting, but it's also a little annoying. Back to the annoyance, having to stay updated on a tool that you don't use yourself. Like, I
Yeah.
really enjoy Framer, but I don't use that every day. It's not in my kind of regular tool belt. So I have to kind of spend quite a lot of time like understanding how people build on Framer, also to be able to create a plugin that hopefully will help them. And it's interesting, but also a little annoying because they're not the only
Yeah.
tool that we need to integrate with, right?
That's the problem with integrations, right? Like, sound like a quick win to like get customers and everything, and they might be initially, but then maintaining them is a pain. Like, so much work, and you're lucky if the integrations updates are just like backwards compatible, and maybe you don't support the new stuff, but the old stuff doesn't break. But some stuff, and I'm not looking at anything from Meta at all, where stuff just changes like from week to another, like 1 week to the other. Stuff's completely different. At least that's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and also, you kind of feel the people using the one tool feels like, they're the only tool you're integrating with.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Um, so it's like it's a hard conversation sometimes, both in support and in sales, to be, well, like it's such an easy thing, and it's like, well, we have many
Yeah.
other tools that we need to integrate with, and also like some of our scripts were made for another type or another style of building sites, and
Right.
this style of building sites is completely different, and we are not built specifically for this tool. It's a marketing conundrum and a sales conundrum.
Yep. For sure.
Yep. But it's bringing in customers, at least.
That's good. That's the Yeah. If you build an integration that can do that, that's worth something, I guess.
Yeah, I just had a call with a guy who was actually visited him, and he was in Oslo, which was kind of fun.
Nice.
I was like, yeah, I'll have a coffee with you. Just
Hands-on customer support.
hands on. And he found out Zetas through Framer. And he was like,
Nice.
this is the solution to all my dreams.
Awesome. And you
But then
get some coffee.
and I got free coffee, which is always
Oh,
good.
that's
No,
free
but it was
coffee.
fun to have a just meet somebody in Oslo who'd found outside, like not through me, but through Framer. And I guess he was chatting with ChatGPT about login for Framer, and then they were like, "This is a solution for login for Framer," and
Nice.
that's how we
So
found that
cool.
setup.
That is really cool.
Total side note: what do people say in Germany when they say they've chatted with ChatGPT?
I don't know, because I'm not like, that's not something I talk with people about in German.
No, because I have so many friends who are not in tech, like an artist, and he was like, "Yeah, I asked Chat about that. I asked Chat about that." He just calls it Chat.
Huh.
And I heard more and more people are like, "Yeah, I had a, because if you're talking in Norwegian, obviously you don't use chat for the worst talk or chat." So they will say like, "I talked to Chat," or "I asked Chat about that," and he's like, "Ask Chat about that," and people are just using Chat. And I had to be like the old person. I'm like, "Do you mean Chat GPT?" And he was like, "Yes." And I was like, "Why don't you use Jean-Claude?" And then he was like, "What the heck?" Okay. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I cannot tell you, because that's not a type of conversation I'm having these days, which says a lot about how many times I get out of the house and talk to other people.
because I feel like this like kind of the AI realm we're in now, it's the first time I've felt that people who are not in tech has had a lot more to do with it than me. Apps. I made apps, like websites. I can make websites, other, kind of things like podcasting. We're podcasting, right? I can make video, like I can do all of this digital stuff, but I didn't start using, Chat or Jean-Claude before way after my friends did, who are totally not into tech at all. Like this one guy is an artist, my other friend is a nurse, and they kept talking to me about it in the way that I would say Google, right? Like instead of saying I Googled that, they were like, I asked Chat. And I'm like, why do you trust Chat? I was like the really like the gray beard or gray haired, I guess, because I don't have beard. Well, I'm getting some, but because I'm that old. But I was the one who were like, really though, do we want to ask Chat about that? And I'm like slowly catching up a little bit. So it's been interesting. So either it's just because I'm getting older, or just because this has like gotten into kind of non-tech hands much faster than I had imagined.
I guess the barrier of entry is like super low at this point, right? I feel like with Google it was also pretty low, but it was still like Googling was still a skill, right? Like you still had to kind of figure out what type of words to enter there to get a good result, because like not every, I guess it's better these days, but like in the early days you couldn't just enter a question and get an answer. It was like you had picked like the keywords and stuff like that. And I guess with this, you can literally enter anything and get something back. Not necessarily the right thing or a good thing, but at least something that looks convincing.
And that's what's
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm definitely on the skeptic side of things, but I also can't deny that there's some value in all of this.
We can just leave it on that.
We can just leave it at that. Yeah.
But I would love to hear what you say in your language, dear listener, if you have any fun, if there's any fun vocabulary around this that has sprung up in your non-tech tech friends.
Yeah.
Because I hope you have some non-tech friends.
Yeah. I have some non-tech friends, but luckily this is not stuff we talk about. Well, anyways,
good on you.
Have a good one, and talk to you in 2 weeks.
See you around the interwebs. Bye-bye.
Bye.